Defiant new comments from Syria's president. During a rare interview with US news network ABC, Bashar al-Assad said Syria is moving toward reforms but never claimed to be a democratic country. He also told journalist Barbara Walters that he never ordered a crackdown on his own people, saying there was, quote, no command to kill or be brutal.
Last week, an independent United Nations commission issued a report. What it said was that your government committed crimes against humanity. And they went on torture, rape, and other forms of sexual violence against protesters, including against children. What do you say to them? Do you acknowledge that? Do you acknowledge what the UN said?
Very simply, I would say send us the documents and the concrete evidences that you have, and we'll see if that's true or not. You have a lot of allegations now.
Did the UN not send you these documents?
Nothing at all. They should send us the documents. As long as we don't see the documents and the evidences, we cannot say yes. That's normal. We cannot say just because the United Nations. Who said that the United Nations is a credible institution?
You do not think the United Nations is credible?
No.
You have an ambassador to the United Nations?
Yeah. It's a game you play, but that doesn't mean you believe in it.
Well, Ivan Watson has more now on the Syrian president's comments, and he joins us from CNN Istanbul. Ivan, first of all, any noticeable change in Bashar al-Assad's attitude or demeanour compared to previous interviews?
You know, this is kind of perhaps a strategy that he's adopted in previous interviews throughout this challenge to his family's 40-plus-year rule of Syria, basically denial or not really being aware of the reality on the ground, despite the voluminous amounts of videos that have emerged from Syria, the human rights reports that have been issued by the United Nations and other international organizations, despite the fact that Syria has lost allies such as Turkey and the entire alliance of the Arab League that have imposed sanctions on his government. Here, coming out insisting that he is not really the commander-in-chief in charge of his security forces, that he never ordered any kind of violent tactics against Syrian civilians, even though we have interviewed many Syrian defector soldiers who have said they were specifically ordered to open fire on unarmed demonstrators, and also continuing with his promises and pledges for reforms and elections in the future, even as the situation appears to be spiraling out of control on the ground, with more evidence of sectarian violence taking place, particularly in the restive city of Homs. The reaction to this interview already from Western governments, from opposition groups, from longtime Syrian watchers is people appear to be astounded, using the terms insane, a failure to accept reality, or perhaps even preparing himself, Bashar al-Assad, to face the International Criminal Court. Fanula.
And of course, one of the pivots, if you will, that Bashar al-Assad has been pinning his hopes on is the fact that he considers himself to be a real player in the region, and that stability in Syria will be important for Syria, for rather stability in the rest of the region. Now, the Arab League, as we know, has been gearing up to a certain extent and making demands of the Syrian government, but also, importantly, an ally, Hezbollah, Hassan Nasrallah in Beirut, also coming out not in support of the Arab League, but very firmly in support of Syria.
Absolutely, and this is important. While on the one hand, the Damascus regime is perhaps more internationally isolated than it has ever been, you have Hezbollah, such a powerful force in Lebanon, the ultimate enemy of Israel, and the Sheikh Hassan Nasrallah coming out Tuesday in a rare public appearance and swearing support for his longtime ally, Bashar al-Assad. Take a listen to what he had to say.
Our position is clear since the beginning. We support the reforms in Syria, and we stand by a regime that has resisted and objected and stood by the resistance movements. There are some who do not want reforms in Syria, nor security or stability, nor civil peace or dialogue. There are some who want to destroy Syria.
Now, this is an important statement, of course, of support for Bashar al-Assad and his government, but it's putting Hassan Nasrallah in a difficult position. 6 months ago, Funula, there were Syrian refugees streaming across the border here into Turkey by the thousands, fleeing Syrian security forces. I remember one man coming across and saying, how can Hezbollah claim to be the defender of the Arab people when it is standing by and doing nothing as Bashar al-Assad guns down men, women, and children in his own country? And Nasrallah is firmly coming down on the side of Bashar al-Assad in this growing conflict.